Thinking about voting third party, would like to know about your options? Well, it turns out social media is going to be censoring those options. That's right. Twitter is not only censoring conservative voices, but third party options as well. And this seems to corroborate the idea that Twitter is highly political, in favor of Democrats, and especially in favor of the establishment. We're going to dive into that right now. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe to this channel. Also, if you would like to support this show, which I rely heavily on your donations in order to continue running, I do appreciate your support. The links are down below. So let's go ahead and get started and dive into this here. Now, Unity 2020 is a movement that was started by Eric Weinstein. And it is the goal of Unity 2020 is to create a third voting option, not a third party, but a third voting option. Their idea is to bring together a Democrat and a Republican on a unity ticket. That's why it's called Unity 2020. And these two would run together, bringing Americans together. Now, it's not the same as a centrist idea. It's not the same as, oh, it's going to be this compromise between Republicans and Democrats, and we've had enough of that. This is actually stepping outside of the establishment, bringing together two anti-establishment candidates who would be very much for the people and not for big money interests, not for big PAC money or special interests, but instead for the American people, bring people together and actually come up with good ideas in Washington. So it's not really a third party, it's a third option. Well, their Twitter account, Articles of Unity, was suspended, completely removed. We don't know if it's coming back. It was taken down about a week ago. It has not been restored. There's no reason from Twitter as to why that account has been taken down. The only thing that we can think of is it was removed because Twitter doesn't want you to have a third-party option. This happened after the hashtag Just Say No to Donald and Joe was trending on Twitter. Shortly after that, the account was banned. So what does that tell you? That tells you right now, right there, that Twitter, which has been claiming that the reason why they've censored conservative voices, they've been censoring Trump, they've censored Trump Jr., they've censored a lot of conservatives. They've also censored a lot of people who are maybe skeptical of COVID or who have been for low-cost treatments or treatments that have been used in other parts of the world but that are deemed as ineffective here in the United States largely for political reasons. Without really any evidence of anything, they've decided to censor all of these accounts. And this goes to show that not only are they censoring those, and they claim, well, that's because that was all misinformation. They were spreading misinformation. Well, how do you explain banning Unity 2020 from Twitter? How do you explain what kind of misinformation was the account Articles of Unity spreading when they were saying just say no to Donald and Joe? It just sounds now what we're seeing is that actually is proving the point that no, Twitter and many of these social media giants are not actually looking out for censoring misinformation or fake news in some way, which they shouldn't be the arbitrator of that anyway. They should not be the ones to decide what is fake, what is real, because they're wrong. They're often wrong. But this is showing that they're also just pro-establishment, pro-Democrat establishment in particular. Recently, they have removed any links regarding COVID treatments that were promoted by Donald Trump. You know what those treatments were. They removed those links, even though India has been widely using it. Bangladesh has been widely using it. It's been used in Cuba. It's been used in numerous countries around the world. There was a new study came out from Italy. They went through 33 hospitals. They looked at the data and they found that this controversial drug, you know which one I'm talking about, actually reduced the death rate by 30% if taken in the right dosage and at the right point of treatment. Many of the research that came out was, way too late in the game when people were already hospitalized. And by the way, there's new news that have come out saying that they're going to be that steroid use is helpful in patients that are hospitalized and that are needing ventilation. Those that are really progressed in the disease, they found that steroid use works for them. Well, what did Twitter do? Twitter actually also started to censor the doctor. There was a doctor in Texas who was going around saying, hey, we should be using some steroid because that actually works. He was using an inhaler, a steroid that was administered through an inhaler, and it was working with his patients. And he was saying, we should be doing this. And what did Twitter do? They censored him. Facebook censored him. YouTube censored him. And now there's medical reports coming out saying actually steroid use does seem to work in patients that are progressed. So we know that they're not the the end all be all of who has right information and facts. They don't know all the fake news or what isn't fake. They're not scientists, and yet they're the ones that are going around censoring this information. And it's not just that. When they say, well, we're trying to prevent the spread of fake news, they also censored, they removed a video from that Trump posted on his website. It was a video made that was a George Floyd tribute video. Here, let me just play a little bit of it for you so you get the idea of how this video is, what this video is like, and then you can scratch your head and wonder, why was this video removed from Twitter? Here it is.
I understand the pain that people are feeling. The death of George Floyd on the streets of Minneapolis was a grave tragedy. It should never have happened. It has filled Americans all over the country with horror, anger, and grief. We support the right of peaceful protesters, and we hear their pleas. The voices of law-abiding citizens must be heard, and heard very loudly. We will stand with the family of George Floyd, with the peaceful protesters, and with every law-abiding citizen who wants decency, civility, safety, and security. But what we are now seeing on the streets of our cities has nothing to do with justice or with peace. The memory of George Floyd is being dishonored by rioters, looters, and anarchists. The violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs.
Did this for no reason.
The mobs are devastating the life's work of good people and destroying their dreams.
That worked so hard to get here.
I don't understand why that video was removed. It clearly wasn't spreading hate. It wasn't calling for violence. It wasn't spreading misinformation. Yet Twitter removed that video. So this is just more evidence that they are, in fact, pro-Democrat, pro-establishment Democrat in particular, because they often also censor progressive voices. In fact, after Soleimani was assassinated by the Trump administration, the Iranian general, they went around and censored progressive voices who were condemning the move, saying that we don't want to go to war. They were censoring the Gray Zone with Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mattei. And so you have to ask yourselves, these platforms, they claim to be beneficial for the people. They claim to be trying to take measures in order to censor false information, but really they just seem to be in the pocket of the establishment. Now, I even know that on YouTube, whenever I post a video about Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden that is shedding a negative light on them, that gets demonetized. Now, I'm used to being demonetized for talking about things like war and terrorism, Epstein. Anytime you talk about anything like that, you're going to be demonetized. But criticizing Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden, why would they demonetize that? So I think there's just an increasing amount of evidence to show that social media, these social media tech giants, are in fact in the pocket of Nancy Pelosi, as she is their representative in Silicon Valley, and that they are very much pro-Democrat. They're very much pro-establishment. Now, remember, the killing of General Soleimani was one that, even though you saw a lot of the commentators coming out against Trump on that, a lot of people saying, oh my gosh, he's nearly marching us to war. At the end of the day, he did not take us to war. It would have been his choice to do so. Everybody was pro-war at that point. You've got Republicans and Democrats who are all about potentially going to war, certainly with Venezuela taking out Maduro, certainly staying in war with Assad, certainly engaging in more conflict with Iran and in North Korea. You've got the entire establishment that is very pro-war, and anytime you talk against the war, you potentially get demonetized or you even get censored or removed on platforms like Twitter. There was one, I've got a post on Instagram that has been censored. You can go to my Instagram account at Kim Iverson and you can see it. It has been censored. It was one where I reported on officials coming from Iran, China, and Russia were claiming that COVID-19 was a biological weapon. They claimed that was fake news. That was not fake news. Those officials were making those claims. That's true reporting, actually, the fact that these officials were making those claims. And I was saying, these are the claims they're making. Why are they making these claims? They then censored that content and said it was fake or false information. So this is alarming. I think everybody should be up in arms about this. This is, for me, even more of a reason not to vote for a Democrat or anybody in the establishment. They're authoritative and censoring, and this is not the type of country I want to live in. I want to live in a free country, and this doesn't sound very free to me. Now, also what came out today was a news article. Here it is from NBC News. Facebook bans new political ads in week before election. It says the measures also aim to prevent campaigns and their supporters from making premature claims of victory, a situation some Democrats have described as a doomsday scenario. So right there from the headline, it's showing that Facebook is banning these political ads because Democrats are afraid. So they're going to kowtow to the Democrats and do what Democrats want, and they're going to make sure that they prevent certain ads from running that Democrats deem are ones that they say, oh no, we can't have that. Because Democrats are apparently the truth tellers in our society. And I know that that's absolutely false. They lie to us all the time. Now, here's what's really scary to me is it goes on to say, Facebook will ban new political ads for the week leading up to Election Day, November 3rd, and remove posts that try to suppress or discourage voting, the company's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, announced Thursday. That is particularly scary because this just kind of makes me wonder if when they say suppress or discourage voting, does that also include those of us who call for third-party options? Does that include Unity 2020 when they say, just say no to Donald and Joe? Would that also be removed according to what Facebook is creating as their new standard? I would think so. I would think that if you say, don't vote for Donald, don't vote for Joe, you're going to be potentially censored if your post is reaching enough people for Facebook to deem it dangerous. That in and of itself, guys, is dangerous. It's dangerous. It was dangerous enough when they were censoring conservative voices. I am fully against that. People say, well, they're spreading misinformation or, they're just wrong. I might not agree with them politically. I don't have the same ideology as most conservatives, but at the same time, I still don't believe they should be censored in any way. Unless they're actively calling for violence, they should not be censored. If you don't like their ideas, come up with better ideas. The way to combat bad speech is more speech. That is just what we should be doing. But instead, it was very alarming to me that these conservative voices were being censored because I knew it was only a matter of time it was going to be us. And then it was us. Then they started to censor more progressive voices, those who are true leftists within the Democratic bubble. They started censoring those. And now they're going after anybody calling for third-party options. This is alarming. This is dystopian. This is not the world that I want to live in. This is not a free America. We should all be fighting back against this. And I know that it's hard for many of us to say, well, I know for a lot of people, they say, well, I got to vote for the lesser of the two evils. I got to vote for Joe because Donald Trump is just so awful. I can't do it. I can't, I have to vote for Joe Biden. I say, do not let the establishment win. We cannot reward this behavior. This is going to be devastating for our future, devastating for the fabric of this nation of being a free society. This is not the direction that we want to go in. This is very, very scary. So there it is. I don't know when they're going to be restoring the Articles of Unity Twitter handle, Unity 2020. They've blocked not only the Twitter handle, but they blocked any links that lead to Unity 2020, which is, and the movement, once again, Unity 2020 is not some radical, let me just read you some of their platform. It's not a radical platform. They're just saying, actually, what is their website? So it's not Unity, it's not unity2020.com. It is, It's just articlesofunity.org. So if you go to articlesofunity.org, it says a plan to save our a plan to save our republic, sorry. Not Trump, not Biden. Unity 2020 is a grassroots presidential campaign to restore patriotic, courageous, and capable leadership in the United States. So their basic idea is to take a Republican and a Democrat, stick them on the ticket together. Whoever is going to be president or vice, it's through a flip of the coin. And when they run, if they win and they serve 4 years, then the next 4 years they swap and the next person becomes president and the other one becomes vice. And they actually would be able to do that 4 times because each person could run, each person could serve 8 years as president. So if they do 4 years and then the other person does 4 years, then they could do 4 years. Actually, in Russia, Vladimir Putin was doing that with his president because prime minister and president had the same sort of thing going on in Russia. So it's kind of taken a page out of Vladimir Putin's book, but nonetheless, it would be legal completely to do it. Their idea then is to take these 2 candidates who are one's a Republican and one's a Democrat and to place them to work in partnership with third-party options who already are on the ballot because ballot access is one of the problems. Getting on the ballot is not as simple as just declaring you're running for president. You actually have to have all of these infrastructure in place in order to run. So Green Party has quite a bit of infrastructure. So does the Libertarians. So their idea was to approach the Green Party and Libertarian Party in certain states and to run on their tickets. So that would put them on the ticket in every single state, allowing them to potentially win. Now, there was a vote that was done with Unity 2020. They voted for Tulsi Gabbard and Dan Crenshaw. I reached out to Tulsi and asked her if she knew anything about this and if they had approached her in any way, shape, or form, and she said no. So I don't really know how far along this movement is. If they're, I know that the people love Tulsi Gabbard and a Dan Crenshaw ticket. Dan Crenshaw is the Republican. He's lost an eye. And the 2 of them, the idea would be to put both of them on a ticket and that would unite America. It would heal the divide. And it would be a ticket that was actually for the people and not for special interests. But once again, I don't know how far along they're actually on that idea because when I asked Tulsi, she didn't know anything about it, and she probably would not do it, would be my guess. I am just guessing. I'm speculating on that, but my guess is she would not do it. But at least this election cycle. But so why would it be considered some sort of and by the way, they were banned prior to making the announcement of Tulsi and Dan being the favored amongst the base who are for this movement. So that's not why the account was suspended on Twitter, because I know there's a lot of controversy around Tulsi Gabbard. A lot of these establishment hacks believe she's some sort of a Russian agent or that she's, an Assad apologist, all these ridiculous claims. It was instead banned prior to that point. So you have to ask yourself what is really going on and should we allow this to continue here in this country? This is absolutely not free speech, not free thought, and I personally, I'm not on Twitter anymore, and I would encourage you to also deactivate your account if this is the way they're going to be doing things. They're lying to you. They're feeding you they're trying to brainwash you, manipulate you. It's not a good thing. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, the links are down below. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching.